Ever catch yourself doing something or feeling a certain way and just wonder, where did that come from? It's like there's this
Hmm.
whole hidden landscape inside us, you know?
Absolutely. Like that iceberg analogy, you only see the very tip.
Exactly. The conscious thoughts, that's the tip. But what about everything else lurking underneath?
Well, that's what we're plunging into today, that huge inner space, the human mind.
Okay.
And we're doing it using excerpts from a book one of you shared, Gajarvader, Shiaichi, Shai Toratu Kostai, which translates to
Ah, the human mind. Mystery, explanation, and exploration. And it really digs into, well, everything. The different layers of the mind, how personality forms.
the emotion versus logic thing too, right?
Oh, yeah, that constant push and pull. And even looks at where our understanding of consciousness might be heading.
It sounds like a user manual for ourselves we never got.
Right.
So our mission here, for you listening, is to pull out the key insights from this book.
Right. Understand the nuts and bolts, how our minds work, why we behave the way we do, and maybe peek into the future a bit. But keep it accessible, not too bogged down in jargon.
Spot on.
Okay, so the book starts with these layers: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Let's unpack that iceberg. Where do we start?
Let's start at the top with the conscious mind. Feast day is the term used.
Okay, Vite.
It's basically that sliver of mental activity you're aware of right now. Your thoughts as you listen to us.
Uh-huh.
The decision you're actively making, maybe like, should I grab a coffee?
Maybe later.
Or just focusing attention, following the conversation, remembering something we said earlier. It's where deliberate processing happens.
So like the brain's front desk, handling what's coming in and going out right now.
That's a good way to put it.
But the book says it's limited. Like it can't hold much at once.
Exactly. Its capacity is limited and information can move in and out quite quickly.
Which makes the practical stuff interesting, like using mindfulness to, say, focus better for taking notes.
Precisely. Reducing errors by being present. Or even training your willpower consciously, like deciding to do a digital detox.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's just below that surface, the subconscious?
Yes, the subconscious, or yine. Now think of this as a huge storage facility just beneath your awareness.
Okay. Bigger than the front desk.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
It's where your habits live, your deep-seated beliefs, emotional patterns, automatic reactions.
Like learning to ride a bike, you don't think about it anymore.
Perfect example. It took conscious effort at first, but now, purely subconscious. Same with maybe lingering childhood fears that pop up sometimes.
Or slamming the car brakes, you don't consciously decide, you just do it.
That's the subconscious influencing you, reacting based on learned patterns.
So it's the brain's autopilot, basically, running background programs.
Yeah, you could say that. And the fascinating thing is, the book suggests we can actually work with it
How so?
through things like positive affirmations. If you repeatedly tell yourself something positive, your subconscious can start to accept it.
Like retraining the autopilot?
Kind of. Or building new habits through sheer repetition, like meditating daily until it becomes second nature.
Okay, I'm following.
But here's a crucial point the book makes. The subconscious doesn't really distinguish between what's actually real and what's just vividly imagined.
Wait, really? So if I worry about something constantly,
Your subconscious might start treating that worry as a reality. That's often where mental blocks or those self-limiting beliefs come from. Hidden fears, negative loops running in the background.
wow, okay. That leads us to the really deep part, right? The unconscious mind. Yes,
Yeah, exactly. This is described as the reservoir for our deepest, often inaccessible stuff. Profound fears, old sadness, maybe trauma,
Things we might not even remember happening.
potentially. Early memories, primal drives we're not aware of. The book even mentions Freud's idea that this unconscious part drives most of our personality.
That's a big claim.
It is. It's seen as the source of our instincts, the hidden meanings in dreams, some of the really weird, inexplicable reasons we do things.
Like an irrational fear. You don't know why you're scared of, say, water.
That could be it. Maybe linked to a forgotten childhood event stored unconsciously, or a song suddenly triggering a powerful buried memory.
And dreams, too.
Definitely. Dreams are often seen as a window, however symbolic, into the unconscious. The book suggests therapy or deep meditation can help access and work through things rooted here.
Like trauma or mental health issues.
Yes. Even just keeping a dream journal might offer some clues, some glimpses into that hidden territory.
It's kind of unsettling, isn't it? How much is going on completely outside our awareness.
It is. And the book points out that the roots of many phobias, maybe even some mental illnesses, might lie deep in the unconscious.
And what about gut feelings, like instantly liking or disliking someone?
The book suggests those can stem from the unconscious too, based on subtle cues triggering old associations or experiences we don't consciously recall.
Okay, so just to recap the layers. Conscious is the here and now, active thinking.
Right. Logic, decisions, focus, limited capacity.
Subconscious is the autopilot, habits, beliefs, emotions, learned responses.
Exactly. The big storage unit works automatically, can be influenced.
And unconscious is the deep, hidden driver. Instincts, buried memories, trauma, dreams.
That's a good summary. The deep engine, often influencing us in ways we don't realize. And crucially, they're all interacting constantly.
Right, not totally separate boxes.
Right.
Okay, so that's the mind's architecture. What about how we, become us, personality development?
Ah, yes. The book really emphasizes how foundational our childhood experiences are. Family, environment, they shape us profoundly.
It talks about the brain changing, right? Especially when we're young.
Neuroplasticity, yeah. The brain is incredibly adaptable in early years. Learning experiences they literally wire the brain, creating pathways that can last.
So a loving, secure environment is key.
Absolutely crucial, the book stresses, for building self-confidence, shaping positive behaviors, and conversely, early trauma can have a really deep, lasting negative impact.
And it uses Erikson's stages, these pillars of personality.
That's right, the 5 pillars. A framework to understand development. The first is trust versus mistrust, right from birth to about 1 year old.
Trust versus mistrust. What does that involve?
It's all about basic security. If a baby gets consistent love and care, they learn to trust. If neglected,
They develop fear, maybe disbelief in others?
exactly. Think about cuddling versus letting a baby cry it out constantly. Big difference in outcome.
Okay, what's next?
Then comes autonomy versus shame and doubt, ages 1 to 3, roughly. Toddlers wanting to do things themselves.
The me do it phase.
Precisely. If you let them try, explore, even stumble a bit, they build self-reliance, autonomy.
But if you're constantly saying no or criticizing,
They can develop shame, doubt their own abilities. It's a delicate balance. Letting them try to dress themselves builds confidence, even if it's mismatched.
makes sense. Pillar 3.
Initiative versus guilt. Around 3 to 6 years old, imagination explodes. They want to start things, explore, ask why, constantly.
So encouraging that is good.
Very. It fosters confidence, a sense of purpose. But if they're constantly shut down, criticized for their ideas or messes,
They feel guilty, like they shouldn't try.
yeah, it can lead to inhibition. Praising their crayon drawing versus saying you can't draw
Yeah.
has a huge impact on their feeling of self-worth.
Okay. Moving on up. Ages 6 to 12.
That's industry versus inferiority.
Oh.
School age. Focus shifts to learning skills, comparing themselves to peers, achieving things.
So building competence.
Right. Opportunities to learn, succeed, contribute, like doing chores, getting praised for effort, build a sense of industry, diligence.
And the flip side is feeling inferior.
If there's constant failure, or worse, humiliation and negative comparisons, why can't you be like your sister? That stuff is destructive, leads to feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, that sounds rough. And the last pillar, teenagers.
Identity versus role confusion. Roughly 12 to 18, the big question, who am I?
Finding yourself.
Exactly. Exploring values, beliefs, future paths. If they're allowed space for this exploration, they build a solid sense of identity.
But if parents are too controlling, or there's too much pressure.
It can lead to role confusion, uncertainty about who they are, where they fit in.
Yeah.
Forcing them down a specific path can even cause rebellion.
So these stages really build on each other.
They do. And the science backs it up. Positive experiences strengthen those neural connections for resilience, emotional regulation. Trauma disrupts it
And parenting styles matter hugely.
immensely. Warm, responsive parenting generally fosters more creativity, confidence, well-being.
So, practically speaking, what helps build a positive personality based on this?
Well, the book suggests really listening to kids' feelings, validating their thoughts,
Not just dismissing them.
right? Encouraging effort instead of just comparing them to others.
Yeah.
Using positive teaching methods.
Yeah.
And letting them make age-appropriate choices.
Giving them some independence.
Exactly. And remembering, the book points out something like 90% of brain development happens in childhood. It's a critical period.
90%. Wow.
Yeah. It really underscores the lasting impact. And it warns strongly against anger, insults that can be really damaging, and the need for support, like counseling if there's been trauma.
Absolutely critical. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. The classic battle. Heart versus head. Emotion versus logic in decisions.
Ah, yes, a daily struggle for most of us.
Mm.
That internal negotiation.
How does the book frame it?
It contrasts them nicely. Emotion is fast, instinctual, feeling-based, often spontaneous, influenced by past experiences, joys, fears, and usually focused on the short-term payoff.
Okay, the immediate gut reaction.
Pretty much. Logic, though, is slower. Analytical. It relies on data, evidence, careful thought. Decisions are more measured, influenced by information, stats, proof, and generally takes a longer-term view.
The book had some good examples, didn't it?
It did. Like
Yeah.
staying up late for a movie, emotion wants the immediate fun.
Yeah.
Logic knows you need sleep for that early meeting.
Right, or wanting to quit a job you hate right now.
Versus the logical step of finding a new one first.
Mhm.
We've all felt that tension.
It also mentioned Kahneman's System 1 and System 2.
Yes, a very useful model. System 1 is that fast, automatic, emotional thinking, like dodging something falling, or that instant like or dislike of a new food. Effortless.
And System 2.
That's just the slow, deliberate, analytical thinking. What you use to solve a math problem, analyze different job offers, research and investment. It takes effort.
So when should we lean on which system? Does the book give guidance?
It suggests leaning more on emotion or system 1 in areas like personal relationships, maybe creative work.
Where intuition matters.
Exactly. And in immediate danger, obviously. You need that fast reaction
But for the big life stuff.
for things like career moves, big financial decisions, legal or ethical questions, major health choices. That's where system 2, the logical approach, is generally more beneficial. Slow down, analyze.
But it's not about ignoring emotion, right? I think the book said something surprising about that.
Yes. It mentioned that people who actually lack emotional capacity, perhaps due to brain injury, often struggle to make any good decisions.
Why?
Because emotions help us prioritize. They assign value, tell us what's important to us. Without them, it's hard to weigh options effectively.
So you need both. But getting the balance wrong is risky.
Definitely. Too much logic, you get stuck in analysis paralysis, never deciding. Too much emotion, you make impulsive choices you regret.
Okay, so how do we find that balance? Any practical tips from the book?
Several good ones. One is the 10-second rule. Just pause. Before reacting emotionally, take 10 seconds. Let the initial wave pass.
Simple, but probably effective. What else?
Self-questioning. Asking yourself, am I being overly emotional here? Or have I really looked at the facts? Just checking in with yourself.
Like stepping back for a second.
Exactly. And the classic pros and cons list forces you to apply a logical structure to weigh things up.
Good old pros and cons. Can't beat it sometimes.
Another suggestion was expressing emotions logically. Instead of just blowing up, saying something like, okay, I feel angry because of X, and here's why that impacts things.
Articulating it calmly.
Yeah. And finally, trying that third-person perspective. Ask, what advice would I give a friend in this exact situation?
Oh, I like that one. Takes your own immediate feelings out of it a bit.
It creates distance, allows for more objectivity. So the takeaway isn't emotion or logic, but emotion and logic integrated, knowing when each is most useful.
Using feelings to know what matters and logic to figure out the best path forward.
You got it. Awareness and integration are key.
Well, this has been genuinely fascinating.
Yeah.
A real deep dive into our own minds, thanks to Meet Tiamide. And that be out. I do that be now. We've covered the layers, how childhood shapes us, that emotion logic dance.
It really covers a lot of ground.
Yeah,
And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
it really does.
Like considering those layers, conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Have you ever felt an impulse reaction that just seemed odd, out of character?
Yeah, I think so.
Could that be your subconscious or even your unconscious pulling the strings based on something you're not aware of?
That's definitely food for thought. And thinking about childhood, is there one experience you can pinpoint, for you listening, that you feel really played a part in shaping who you are today? Good or bad?
Powerful question. And finally, that emotion versus logic thing. Think about a decision you made recently. Honestly, what led the charge? Was it your gut feeling or your careful analysis? Or maybe a bit of both?
Understanding that internal balance, that seems like a really useful piece of self-knowledge to have.
Absolutely. It's all about getting to know that complex inner world a little better.
Well, we really encourage you to mull over these ideas, see how they resonate with your own experience. The human mind is endlessly fascinating. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.